Chapter 9. Logan. Keys clacked under my fingers, commands scrolling like a waterfall across dark screens. My pulse matched the rhythm of the code cascading down, data bending to our will. Doomladen and I were in the zone, the digital dance we'd mastered over countless nights. The final string of code executed with a silent victory. We breached the corporation's vault, a triumph against the giants. Got it, I breathed out, the weight of the operation lifting. Logan! Her voice was electric, sparking through the static of the room. She spun in her chair, face alive with the rush of success. I swiveled to face her, our eyes locked. Celebratory adrenaline surged as she stood up, closed the space between us with purpose. She grabbed my hands, pulling me up. We did it! Her smile was wildfire, infectious. Damn right, I said, grinning back at her. For a second, the world outside this room, with all its faults and greed, faded away. It was just us, two hackers against the Empire. Her fingers laced through mine, squeezing tight. I felt the heat from her skin, the energy that buzzed around her. Doomladen pulled me closer, and for a moment there was no mission, no cause, just her. The celebration turned into something else, something deeper. Our lips met in a tender kiss, filled with promise and longing. It was as if time stood still for an instant as we explored each other's mouths, tasting and teasing one another with increasing passion. Her hands found their way to my chest, trailing lightly over my skin before reaching for the hem of my shirt. With a slow, deliberate movement, she lifted it over my head, revealing my bare torso to her gaze. I reciprocated by slipping her dress off, brushing my lips against the soft skin that was exposed. As we broke apart, breathless, I knew something had shifted. Doomladen. Her name throbbed in my thoughts, louder than any alarm or warning signal. I tried to refocus on the screen, on the lines of code that spelled our crusade against corporate corruption. But her presence was magnetic, drawing my gaze back every few seconds. Logan, her voice cut through in my head. You still with me? Always, I replied, though doubt crept in the morning. Always, I replied, though doubt crept in like morning mist. My mind should have been plotting the next move, strategizing our attack. Instead, images of her kept playing on loop. Doomladen laughing, Doomladen smirking, Doomladen's touch lingering on my skin. The mission was everything. It had to be. The mission was everything. It had to be. But her laughter echoed. Her fire blazed within me, and I couldn't shake the thought of her. Logan, focus. You can't afford to slip. Let's hit them again, I said, trying to claw back to our shared purpose. But even as I spoke, her image danced in my mind, a dangerous distraction. The argument ignited like a spark in dry glass. You can't just play God with these people's lives. You can't just play God with these people's lives, I snapped. You can't just play God with these people's lives, I snapped, my voice terse. Since when did you grow a conscience? Doomladen shot back, her eyes sharp as flint. We're taking from the rich, giving to the poor. It's justice. Justice? My laugh was hollow. Justice? My laugh was hollow, bitter. There's a difference between justice and recklessness. She leaned forward, her presence commanding even in the... She leaned forward, her presence commanding even in the cramped space of our makeshift command centre, a dusty caravan parked on the edge of Meningi's scrubland. And there's a thin line between caution and cowardice, she snapped back. I bristled, feeling the sting of her words. Like salt in a wound. The mission had been clear-cut before. Bring down corporate fat cats who bled the country dry. But now it was tangled up with something else, something personal. Look at us. Her voice softened. Look at us. Her voice softened, but carried an edge that could slice through steel. We're making a difference, Logan. We're on the right side of this. Are we? Doubt gnawed at me. My fingers twitched, itching for the familiar feel of a keyboard between them. Are we? Doubt gnawed at me. My fingers twitched, itching for the familiar feel of a keyboard beneath them, something solid and real. Or are we just becoming the very thing we hate? Doom-Laden's face darkened, her lips pressed into a thin line. So what then? We stop? Let them win? I don't know. The words tasted like defeat. I could see the disappointment in her eyes, feel the rift widening between us. Never thought you'd say that, she muttered, turning away to hide the hurt I knew was there. I watched the rigid set of her fingers, I watched the rigid set of her shoulders, the way her hands clenched into fists. Damn it, Doom-Laden, I said, my voice low. This isn't about giving up. It's about not losing ourselves in the fight. Maybe I'm already lost, she said quietly, her back still to me. Then let me find you. The plea was out before I could stop it, raw and desperate. I wanted to reach out, pull her back from whatever precipice she teetered on, but I hesitated, caught in the crossfire of my own emotions. Logan. Her voice was a whisper, almost lost in the vastness of the Australian night creeping in through the caravan windows. You have to choose, me or the mission. The silence stretched, heavy and unwelcome. In it, I heard the quiet hum of the outback, the distant cry of a curlew. I felt the weight of her gaze on me, waiting, judging. Can't it be both? I asked, finally meeting her stare. Sometimes love is a luxury we can't afford, she said, her voice steady, resolved. Pain lanced through me, sharp and unexpected. I realised then what I'd known all along. My feelings for Doom-Laden were not just a distraction. They were a liability. Maybe you're right, I admitted, the truth tasting like ash on my tongue. Logan. No, I cut her off, standing with a newfound determination. The mission comes first, always has. Always will? There's a challenge in her eyes. I wasn't sure I could meet it. Always, I echoed, though my heart rebelled against the word. The caravan felt smaller, closing in around me as I made my choice. But it was the right one. It had to be. Good. Doom-Laden nodded once, brisk, businesslike. Let's get back to work. Right. I settled back into my chair, the screen's glow washing over me, cold and impersonal. As I began to type, each keystroke was a reminder of the line I'd drawn, the gulf I'd placed between us. But it was necessary. For the mission, for justice, even if it meant sacrificing the one thing that had made me feel alive in this desolate place. I focused on the code, on the mission, on anything but Doom-Laden. I hammered at the keys, code flowing like a river in flood, then stopped. My heart thumped, a trapped bird against my ribs. Doom-laden sat across the camped caravan, her back to me, shoulders hunched. Ever wonder why I switched sides? Her voice was low, barely above the hum of our machines. Can't say I have. I kept it cool, detached. Easier that way. She turned, eyes catching the dim light. I used to believe in the cause, you know. Hacking for good, exposing the corrupt. Used to? Life's not black and white, Logan. Shades of grey everywhere. She ran a hand through her hair, a nervous tell I'd picked up on. Black and white's easier, I said, staring at the screen. Binary, ones and zeros. Is it? She laughed without humour. My sister, she got caught in the crossfire. A hack gone wrong. They blamed her for leaking information. She wasn't involved. Sorry, I said, because what else could I say? Are you? Because here we sit, plotting the downfall of our next target. Bitterness laced her tone. Justice isn't always clean. It was a truth I'd wrestled with since leaving the RAF. Justice. She spat the word out like a curse. My sister thought so too, until it cost her everything. Did she? I couldn't finish. Prison. 5 years. No parole. Doom-laden looked away, the walls of the caravan pressing in. Damn it. The word escaped before I could stop it. I didn't know. Nobody does. Keeps the narrative simple. Hero turned villain for the thrill of it, right? Her laugh was sharper this time. Well, simple's safer, I tried to believe, even as doubt crept in. Safe is a luxury, she said, echoing my earlier words. Like love. Love makes you do crazy things. My fingers drummed on the desk, restless. Does it now? Her gaze held mine, searching. Sometimes the weight of my feelings was a shackle. Could get us both killed, you know. Could. The acknowledgement was a stone in my throat. Back to work then? She didn't wait for an answer, turning back to her own screen. Back to work. I echoed the sentiment, but didn't move. For a long moment I watched the lines of code, a language I understood better than human emotion. Doom-laden's confession hung between us, heavy as the humid air outside. Her past was a jagged piece of the puzzle, one that didn't fit the image I'd built of her. It made her real, human, vulnerable, and it scared me more than any cyber threat we'd faced. Shades of grey, I muttered, and forced my fingers back to the keyboard. But each press was a question, each line of code a doubt. Justice and love, hero and villain, all tangled up in a mess I couldn't sort. For now, I typed. For justice, for her, for something I couldn't quite name. The caravan creaked. The wind outside picked up. Dust devils danced in the dying light. Just another day in rural Australia. And yet everything had changed. My screen blurred. I blinked it back into focus. Lines of code trailed like breadcrumbs through the labyrinth of the corporation's security. Doom-laden's avatar flickered beside mine, a ghost in the machine. Left flank, I typed, the words stark on the chat console. Covering, she shot back, her digital footsteps syncing with mine. We'd done this dance before, weaving through firewalls with a choreography honed by countless hours side by side. But now, each step felt clumsy, each move forced. Watch your back, she warned, and I realised I'd drifted, my thoughts snagging on memories of her confession. Got it. A lie. I didn't have anything. Not the code, not my feelings, not us. Talk to me, Logan. Her voice crackled through my headset, tinged with something that sounded like concern. "Focus," I muttered, more to myself than to her. Always. The single word cut, and I knew she could feel the tension too. It stretched, a wire pulled taut between us. My fingers flew across the keys, but my mind was elsewhere. With her. The way she had looked when her walls came down. How her eyes held shadows that matched mine. "Logan!" Sharp, urgent. I snapped back just as the system pinged an alert. Too late. I'd missed a beat, left a trace. Bugger it. My curse was a whisper of defeat. "Compromise?" She didn't need to ask. The sirens wailing through our connection said it all. "Pull out," I ordered, the command heavy on my tongue. "Can't. You'll be exposed." Stubborn, she always was. "Doesn't matter. Go." Silence. Then, together. Her loyalty was a vice around my chest. We moved, retreating through digital back alleys. I threw up barriers, scrambling to cover our tracks. "Close one," she breathed once we were clear. Too close. My heart hammered, a relentless drum against my ribs. "Your head wasn't in it. Why?" "Doesn't matter," I lied again, the truth too dangerous to voice. "Everything matters." Her voice was steel, but beneath it I heard the fracture. "Let's just get back to work." The familiar fallback. Work was safe. Work was simple. "Right." The line went dead. I stared at the screen, its glow the only light in the caravan's gloom. The code was still there, but everything had changed. We had changed. "Damn emotions," I hissed into the quiet, knowing full well they were both my downfall and my salvation. Back to work. The phrase was hollow, echoing off the metal walls. Outside, the wind howled, a lonely sound that matched the turmoil inside me. Survival hinged on friendship, on trust. But love? Love was the wild card that could bring the whole house down. And I was holding it, tight in my hand, unsure whether to play it or fold. The glow of the monitors cast sharp angles across Doom-Laden's face. She cut through the silence. "Logan, we need to talk." I knew that tone. It was all business, cutting deeper than any blade. "About?" I kept my eyes fixed on the screen, fingers hovering over the keys. "Us." The word hung heavy between us. "You're slipping. What's going on?" I couldn't look at her. If I did, I'd be lost in those eyes. "Nothing's going on." "Cut the crap, Logan." Her voice was harsh, a verbal slap. "Your head's not in the game. We nearly got caught because of your daydreaming." "Can we not do this now?" I deflected, hoping to ward off confrontation. "No," she insisted. "We can't afford mistakes. This isn't just about us. It's bigger. You know that." "Of course I know," I snapped, the frustration bubbling up. "But what if what, Logan?" Doom-Laden stepped closer, invading my space. "What if you cared more about the mission than some fleeting feelings?" My heart thudded. "They're not fleeting." "Then you've got to choose." The ultimatum was clear in her eyes. They were a storm, dark and relentless. "Choose?" My voice cracked. "Me or the mission? You can't have both." The weight of her words crushed me. The mission was everything, exposing the corporate greed, the corruption. But Doom-Laden had become something else. Damn it! I turned away, clenching my fists. "I can't just turn off how I feel." "Then you're risking it all." Her disappointment was palpable, a tangible force that pushed me towards a decision I didn't want to make. "Fine." The word tasted like defeat. "The mission. It has to be the mission." "Logan, stop." I raised a hand, silencing her. Don't make this harder than it already is. Okay. Her voice was softer now, but it only made it worse. Okay, I echoed, a desperate hope flaring. Okay, as in, I understand. She took a step back, distancing herself. But this changes things. Changes how? Professional. That's all we are now, partners in the cause. Right. My heart sank. Her face was a mask, all emotion locked away. Back to work then. She moved towards her station, the click of her keyboard filling the void. Back to work, I repeated the phrase, watching her silhouette against the flickering screens. The wind outside whispered secrets to the night. It knew the truth of what was lost. Friendship was survival. Trust essential. But love? Love was a luxury we couldn't afford. Not when justice was at stake. Goodbye, doom-laden. The words were silent prayers to the cold Australian night. They were for me, not her. A reminder of what mattered most. She didn't respond, didn't need to. We both knew where we stood. I turned back to my screen, lines of code blurred before my eyes, but I forced them into focus. This was the world I understood, the world I could control. Let's take 'em down, I murmured, more to myself than to her. Let's, she agreed, her voice distant but determined. Together, yet worlds apart, we dove back into the digital fray. Fingers danced across the keyboard. The monitor's glow was cold comfort. Each tap was a hammer to my heart, pounding away the pain of doom-laden's absence. I built walls with code, barricaded emotions behind firewalls. Focus, Logan, I muttered, a mantra against the ache. Data streams became my new companions. Binary was predictable, safe. It didn't look at you with disappointment, didn't walk away when things got real. Night bled into day. I barely noticed. Time was another casualty in my war against corporate greed. My body craved sleep, food, but my mind was sharper than ever. Adrenaline was my sustenance, fueling my resolve. Can't slip now, I told myself. The corporations had their tentacles in everything. Politics, media, lives. Someone had to pull them out. That someone was me. I hacked deeper, faster. Systems crumbled under my assault. I was David slinging stones at Goliath's digital forehead. Each victory a balm for the sting of lost love. Keep moving. The outside world faded. There was only the mission, only justice. My past self would have hesitated, questioned. Not anymore. Doom-laden's ghost drove me forward, her memory sharpening my focus. Pain was a weapon, and I wielded it with precision. Almost there, I whispered as another barrier fell. I was alone, but not lonely. Alone was clean, simple. Doom-laden's shadow lingered, though. It crept around the edges of my consciousness, whispering doubts. I shoved it back, locked it down. No room for weakness, not now. Logan Robinson versus the world, I said with a hollow laugh. It wasn't much of a joke. Logan Robinson for the world, I corrected, fingers flying. Justice wasn't just personal, it was universal. The screen flickered. Another layer peeled back. Closer to the core, closer to the truth. Let's see what secrets you're hiding, I breathed. And then breakthrough. The system laid bare before me. A treasure trove of corruption exposed by the light of my solitary quest. Gotcha. A smile cracked the mask. They wouldn't know what hit them. In that moment, I was invincible, unstoppable, and utterly alone. The cursor blinked. A challenge in the sea of black. My heartbeat synced to the rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. The keys were cold beneath my fingers, colder than the night air seeping through the cracks of my Meningi home. Come out, I muttered. A ping. Her calling card. Doom-laden was in the system, a rogue echo in my digital playground. I found you, I said, a smirk touching my lips. The screen danced with her countermeasures. Elegant, lethal. She was close, too close. A digital cat-and-mouse game, and the stakes were high. Two can play. My fingers blazed, commands sliced through code. Defence met offence. She was good, but I was better. Or so I told myself. Logan? My own voice felt foreign. Was I speaking to her? No, she couldn't hear me. Not anymore. Focus, I gritted out. Memories of her laugh, her touch, they clawed at me. We were partners once. More than that. Now adversaries. Bugger it. A line of defence crumbled. She was pushing back, hard, a sly fox slipping through my grasp. Can't let her win. The words were steel. The mission was everything. But the ghost of her smile haunted me, weakened my resolve. Justice, I breathed. It had to mean more than us, more than pain, more than the raw ache that hollowed out my chest. Justice, I repeated like a mantra. Each keystroke was a step away from her, a step towards something greater. Got to be smart, got to be quick. The whole world narrowed to pixels and possibilities. There was no room for doubt, for hesitation, for love. Logan versus Doom-laden, I whispered. The weight of our past pressed against me. No, Logan for justice. She was brilliant, my mirror image in the cyber abyss. But she'd lost her way. I couldn't afford to follow. Can't think about her. It was a lie. Every move I made was shadowed by what we'd shared. Every success tinged with the bittersweet. Breakthrough, I commanded myself. The lines of code blurred, became a battleground where emotions had no place. Survive, I thought. Survival wasn't just about living. It was about holding on to what mattered. Win. The screen exploded with light as I breached her final barrier. But victory felt hollow, tasted like ash. Sorry, Doom-laden. It was a whisper in the dark, an apology to the void. For the battle, for the loss, for the fact that friendship once meant survival, and now I survived despite it. Justice prevails, I said. But the cost was etched into the lines of my face, reflected in the empty glow of the monitor. Alone. That's what I was. What I had to be. Alone with the mission. Alone with the ghosts of what could have been. Alone in the fight for justice. The cursor blinked. Judgment time. Can't do this anymore, I muttered, fingers poised above the keyboard. The room was quiet, save for the hum of the machine that connected me to her, to Doom-laden. I thought about everything. Us, the hacks, the rush. It was intoxicating. But it was poison, too. A toxin to my purpose. Focus, I told myself. You're Logan Robinson, not some love-struck hacker. I opened the chat, our digital war room. Once a sanctuary, now a battlefield. Logan? Her message popped up, instant, like she knew. Ending this, my reply, final. No more words than necessary. Because of the mission? She asked, always sharp. Because of justice, I needed her to understand. Or because you can't handle both, she shot back. Bugger, she could cut deep. Can't let feelings cloud judgment, I typed. Truth, raw and unadorned. Is that what we are? Just feelings? Another jab. More, that's the problem. Honesty was a blade, self-inflicted, Then goodbye, Logan. Her message was cold, detached. Goodbye, Doom-laden. Sending it hurt. Necessary pain. The screen went blank. Connection severed. It had to be done. For the cause. For the right thing. Alone again. The words were a heavy sigh in the silence. Survival, I reminded myself. In rural Meningi, friendship was warmth against the chill of solitude. But warmth could burn. Justice over heart. The mantra steadied me. New dawn tomorrow. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. Without her. The finality was a stone in my stomach. Stay true, Robinson. I stood up, turned off the monitor. Darkness enveloped the room. It matched the void inside. But the mission was clear. Justice prevails, even if I had to walk the path alone.